Some animal milk can genuinely hurt you before you finish drinking it. Not because it's spoiled. Not because it's dirty. Because your body was never built to handle what's inside it. Right now, on this planet, over 5,000 species of mammal are producing milk for their young. And you, personally, have probably only ever tasted one of them. So the real question isn't just, why cow milk? The real question is, what happened to all the others? You pour a glass of milk without thinking about it. But, cold. Completely normal. But step back for a second, and it is actually a strange thing to do. You are drinking a liquid designed by one species, specifically, to grow the babies of that exact species. And somehow, that liquid ended up in your kitchen instead. Here is the part almost nobody tells you. Cow milk is not the only milk humans drink. Not even close. In parts of the Middle East and North Africa, goat milk has been a daily staple for thousands of years. In the Mediterranean, sheep milk is turned into some of the most famous cheeses on earth. Across South Asia, buffalo milk is often preferred over cow milk because it is thicker, richer, and holds up better in cooking. In the mountains and deserts of Central Asia, people ferment mare's milk into a mildly alcoholic drink. In the Himalayas, yak milk keeps entire communities fed through brutal winters. In parts of the Arabian Peninsula, camel milk has sustained desert life for centuries. So the myth falls apart almost immediately. Humans do not drink only cow milk. Humans drink several different animals' milk, depending on where they happen to live. But here is where it gets interesting. Step outside of those specific regions, into most of the modern world, and one animal quietly took over almost everything. Supermarket shelves, school lunch programs, global trade routes, industrial dairy farms the size of small towns. Cow milk did not just become common. It became the default, almost everywhere, all at once. So the real question sharpens. Out of thousands of possible species, why did the cow specifically end up running the entire global dairy industry? Let's rule out the obvious wrong answer first. It is not because cow milk is nutritionally superior to every other option. It genuinely is not. Goat milk is easier for some people to digest. Buffalo milk has more protein and fat per serving. Yak milk is packed with more calories per cup, which matters enormously at high altitude. If nutrition alone decided this competition, cow milk would not have automatically won. So if it is not nutrition, what is it? To answer that, you have to look at all the animals that never made it into anyone's daily glass, and ask a much stranger question. Could you even milk them in the first place? Start with something surprising. Reindeer milk is one of the richest milks on earth, thick with fat and protein, far more concentrated than cow milk. Sounds perfect, right? Except reindeer produce it in tiny amounts, and only for a short window each year. There simply is not enough of it, often enough, to support daily human use at any real scale. Now go somewhere far stranger. Seal milk, whale milk. These animals need to transfer enormous amounts of energy to their young in the freezing ocean extremely fast, so their milk is almost unbelievably rich in fat. In some cases, closer to the texture of mayonnaise than anything you would call a drink. It is not built to be sipped. It is built to be gulped once, in massive amounts, by a newborn that needs to survive brutal cold immediately. Even if you could somehow collect it, your body was never designed to process milk that concentrated. And then there is the more basic problem. You cannot exactly walk up to a wild seal or a whale twice a day and milk it by hand. That single detail, can a human actually, physically, safely get close enough to collect the milk repeatedly without getting hurt, quietly eliminates almost every option on the entire planet before nutrition ever enters the conversation at all. This is where the real story of the cow begins. Somewhere around 10,000 years ago, in parts of the Middle East and South Asia, humans began domesticating the wild ancestor of modern cattle, an enormous, powerful animal called the aurochs. And here is the part that changed everything. Over generations of selective breeding, humans slowly shaped that wild, dangerous animal into something calmer. Something herd-based. Something that would tolerate a human standing directly beside it, twice a day, hands on its body, without panicking or fighting back. That is not a small achievement. That is one of the most important and most underrated technological developments in human history. Because once you have an animal that is calm enough to milk safely, large enough to produce far more milk than its own calf could ever drink, and social enough to live peacefully in large herds, you have unlocked something almost no other species on Earth can offer: a reliable, repeatable, scalable source of food, twice a day, every single day, for years. Compare that to a goat, smaller yield, but manageable in tough terrain. A sheep, even smaller yield, but incredibly hardy. A camel, enormous value in the desert, but slow to reproduce and difficult to manage in large numbers. Every one of these animals became important, but only in specific environments, where their particular strengths mattered most. The cow, by contrast, was almost universally useful. It thrived across a wide range of climates. It produced far more milk per animal than most alternatives. It tolerated close human contact at a scale few large mammals ever have. And it did all of this while also providing meat, leather, and enormous pulling power for farm labor. So cattle did not spread because someone tasted every milk on Earth and picked a winner. Cattle spread because they were, practically speaking, one of the most cooperative, productive, and manageable large animals humans had ever encountered. And once that spread started, something else happened, something far stranger, buried inside human biology itself. Here is the twist almost nobody expects. Every mammal on Earth is born able to digest milk. But in most humans, historically, that ability quietly switches off after early childhood. The enzyme needed to break down lactose, the sugar in milk, simply stops being produced in large amounts once a person is weaned. For most of human history, in most parts of the world, adults were not really supposed to drink milk at all. But in specific regions, something unusual happened. In populations that began herding cattle heavily, generation after generation, a genetic mutation appeared that let that enzyme keep working well into adulthood. And here is the critical part. In cultures where dairy farming was already common, people carrying that mutation had a massive survival advantage. They could drink milk anytime, not just as infants, turning their herds into an enormous, reliable calorie source, even during famine, drought, or crop failure. Over thousands of years, that genetic trait spread rapidly through cattle herding populations, especially across parts of Europe and specific regions of Africa and the Middle East. Your ability, right now, to drink a glass of milk as a fully grown adult without discomfort is not a universal human trait. It is a specific genetic adaptation, inherited from ancestors who happened to build their entire way of life around one particular animal. Think about what that actually means. The cow did not simply win a competition for best milk. The cow won something much deeper. It won a feedback loop. Cattle herding shaped human culture. Human culture shaped human genetics. And that new genetic advantage made cattle herding even more valuable, which pushed cattle herding even further, generation after generation, until an entire evolutionary and cultural system had quietly formed around one single species. Goat herders, sheep herders, camel herders, and yak herders built their own smaller versions of this same relationship wherever cattle were not practical. But nowhere else did that loop scale up quite as far or spread quite as wide as it did with cows. So when you really untangle the whole story, the truth is almost the opposite of what the question assumes. Humans did not choose cow milk out of thousands of equal options, the way you might pick a flavor off a shelf. Humans slowly built an entire agricultural, cultural, and even genetic relationship around one specific animal over roughly 10,000 years, one small advantage compounding into the next, until it became the invisible, unquestioned default sitting in your refrigerator right now. Every other milk you could theoretically drink, reindeer, seal, camel, yak, goat, sheep, mare, still exists somewhere in the world today, still feeding real people in real places exactly as it always has. But only one of those animals ended up completely reshaping global agriculture, global trade, and even the biology of an enormous portion of the human species, one glass at a time. That is the real reason cow milk ended up everywhere. Not because it was the best option nature offered, because it was the one relationship that never stopped compounding for 10,000 uninterrupted years, until it quietly became something that no longer even looks like a choice at all.